Good morning. Well, first of all, thank you, Mauricio and Melinda, for and Brian getting everybody here, and all the members of the media. Thank you for joining this morning. Just wanted to be here to provide an update on where we are, the decision. As I mentioned last night in my prepared remarks, this is not in a way delaying the planning. The planning will continue. It was following the governor's order of Stay Home Nevada 2.0, which was the right thing to do. As looking at the numbers, I felt that it was something that wanted to discuss one more time with the board publicly as we continue to plan to move, hopefully bring our children back when the health data and the numbers allow us to do that in the first of the year, sometime in January. We don't have a specific date or a target. Our goal is to work as a second largest employer in the state, keeping everybody safe. Numbers go down, and it'll be a way for us to bring our children and our employees into the buildings in schools. As I've stated many times before, we are not only in the midst of a health crisis, but we are also being challenged with a mental health crisis and an academic crisis for our children. So safety has and will continue to be the top priority for me and the board. But I wanted to give an opportunity for us to review our transition plan to hybrid whenever that time comes in January. And now I'll turn it over to Mauricio to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jara. I'll be going down the list, folks. We'll start with Jeff Gillen with Channel 3. Jeff?
Folks, Dr. Jara, good to see you, and thank you for taking my questions. What metrics, Dr. Jara, are you going to use in order to determine what kind of timetable you're looking at? What specifically will you need to see to start rolling this plan into effect?
Yeah, no, and you know what? One of the things that we continue to look at, and as I said, and I mentioned last night, I sit with in the regional policy group every Monday afternoon with the Southern Nevada Health District, UMC, the county officials, all our municipalities. As we were looking at the health data and the health numbers, the positivity rate increase, to me, it just gave me pause. And one of the things that we want to look at is to start seeing a downward trend. But then the other thing is to start looking at what we are doing and making sure that our employees will be safe and helping us with the plan is a very solid plan. It's got all the safety measures and finalizing. Proud of the board's decision last night to bring in and tie in the the TIES program, which gives us an opportunity to now a voluntary rate to test our employees. I think that was one of the measures that our CCEA has been working with us to put together. It brings some level of comfort. So now we have that in place. So now that's something that's been added to our plan. So those are some of the measures that we're looking to see. I like to see the numbers lower. But I think that's one of the things that we continue to look at to monitor.
I have one follow-up, if I can, just very quickly, Dr. Jara.
Yeah.
How many students have you lost this semester? When I say lost, what I mean that have fallen out of touch, that you're not in contact with. I know that had been a problem last year at the end of school. Are you still having that problem now?
I'm going to say I don't have the exact number, but we haven't seen what we are seeing, and this is anecdotal. What we're looking and seeing is the engagement. The kids, especially the older kids, they're making some decisions. Our teachers are working hard trying to engage. I had a listening tour with educators, support professionals, and our administrators in the last couple of weeks. And what I'm hearing anecdotally is that it's tough to engage and continue to engage our students online. They're making some different choices. So that's been a bit of a challenge.
Okay. That's all that I had. I'll pass it on to my colleagues.
Thank you, Jeff. I believe we have Lauren with Channel 5. Lauren?
Hi there, Dr. Jara. My name is Lauren Martinez. I'm new to the team, so this is my first week. I wanted to ask you, well, my main question is, now that trustees and the board has more time to look over this, what kind of changes would you like to see in the next proposal?
So well, first of all, welcome to the team, and welcome
Thank you.
to the education beat, I guess I would say. One of the things that we're looking at is really, and I heard loud and clear, one of the things is really a bit more consistent in our instructional support of our teachers and our families. So we're going to look at making sure that when we're providing the curriculum and the lessons, that it's available for our teachers there. So I think it's a little bit more of a standardization of where and how we're delivering the curriculum. Our families, from what I'm hearing, are frustrated. So that's one of the things that we're going to really bring back into the plan for when we come back to school.
So would you say that there's more of a focus on distance learning right now instead of this transitional plan, or would you say that's kind of split right now, kind of 50-50?
I think it's both. The focus that we're going to have, we have to improve the distance education program because when we come back, we're still going to have families that are going to opt there, because there's going to be a choice for families to keep their children home. So we still have to improve what we're doing there as well. So it's going to be a little bit of both of what we have to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I believe we have Kate Houston with Channel 8. Kate?
Yes, good morning. Dr. Jara, you mentioned we are in a mental health crisis, and in light of the news that another student died of suicide, how is the district going to be supporting families right now, especially now that these plans have been postponed?
Kate, one of the things that we started as a pilot this past week is a program. We're bringing in and I'll say this, it's more of not that we just started this program, that our social workers, our counselors have been working tirelessly across the district. This goes back to, it's what we're seeing. I think what we're seeing is the social isolation and some of these different things and aspects of what we're doing. So we're bringing in, we've identified some schools that are piloting more of an intense support with social workers, counselors, administrators, what we're calling with the MLT team that's coming in and really spending time with our tier 3 students that are struggling socially, so we can reach out and doing that. We're going to continue with our wellness checks. We're going to continue doing that across the district. We're just providing some intensive support in 11 schools that we've identified where we're seeing some of these concerns. And they're going to be coming in. They were doing it voluntarily, coming into the schools, obviously following the governor's orders on staying home. But these are critical. These are essential. These are lives of our children. We've lost more this year than all of last year in this first semester. So this is a sense of urgency that we need to have around our kids' lives.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you.
We have, is there someone from Channel 13 who has a question? All right, I believe they're just recording. We have Julie with the Review Journal. Julie.
Good morning, Superintendent Jara. I was wondering if you could please clarify whether you anticipate bringing the hybrid plan back to the board in December, and then what the process would be and what steps you would be looking to take to make any revisions to the plan based on the feedback that the board provided last night.
Yeah, so Julie, one of the things that when we look at the hybrid, there's a lot of different components. This is, we've already analyzed and looked at, a half day, bringing kids in the half day, and then bringing a different cohort in the afternoon. Those things that, as much as we'd like to do in different ways, we have to follow the CDC guidelines. The CDC guidelines keeps our kids. We have to keep our kids in different cohorts. So it's not, the criticism is, well, this is the only plan. No, there's the guidelines that are put in place are for, for us to be able to do the contact tracing and the implementation and just getting our kids in school somehow. So it's going to be, looking at what the board has given us as advice or recommendations to look at a little bit further. We'll analyze that. I see that there may be some potential changes, but really not too far, because the social distancing is going to be at 6 feet. It has to be at 6 feet for us. And the mask and different things, because the safety of the students and the teachers and the adults is the top priority. So we can bring more than the 50% capacity as well. So it is going to be some type of hybrid.
Well, thank you so much. We have Sarah with the Las Vegas Sun. Sarah? All right, we'll come back to you. Jackie Valley with the Nevada Independent.
Hi, Dr. Jara. I want to piggyback off Julie's question a little bit. It looks like we have 2 board meetings the rest of this year. I anticipate we won't have this come up next week, but can you clarify whether it could potentially be on the board agenda for the December 10th meeting?
Yeah, I guess I missed that now to answer that question. I mean, that's my goal. My goal is to bring something back in December.
Okay. And then as a follow-up, last night you mentioned that you were very close to some form of agreement with different unions. Can you clarify what unions and exactly like what type of agreements or sticking points you're working on with them? Yeah,
no, Jackie. Well, I can't give you the details of what the agreement that we're working on, because I don't want to bargain in the public, but it's with CCEA. CCEA has been a partner with us and trying to find ways to open up our schools.
Okay. And then lastly, we heard a somewhat consistent message from several trustees saying that we really should be focusing on improving distance learning and remote learning, given so many uncertainties with case numbers. How do you plan to address that? And will we see any of that information folded in possibly December 10th?
Yeah, I think it's Jackie. It goes back to the question that I was asked about, really the standardization of the curriculum and where the lessons are. I think there's a lot of different frustrations from parents from what we're hearing, is that in some schools they have to go through Google Meet, and others go through Canvas. And I think that is the piece where we have to start improving and with our lessons are putting in place, and then the grading and the expectations to have a more standard support. And I think, that's one of the goals for us to get that in place for us, whether it's, whether we go into hybrid or where we stay in distance education. So standardizing some of the expectations across the entire school district is one of the things that I heard loud and clear.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Sarah, I know you're communicating with Brian, so once we have your questions from the Las Vegas Sun, we will be sure to ask them on your behalf. Is there a representative from the Nevada Current? Nevada Current? All right, I'll turn it to Spanish for a couple minutes. Telemundo, do you have a question? Univision? All right, if you're having technical difficulties, feel free to type your comments here or send a quick email to the communications email account. Ryan, if you could kindly check that for us. We'll go back, one last question. I'll go back in reverse. Nevada Current, is there anyone on there? Brian, any questions for the Sun yet? You want to unmute yourself?
Still waiting right now, so
Absolutely. We can
I think we'll get some. She emailed that she was having problems getting unmuted, so I will get that as soon as I get there.
Appreciate that. Jackie Valley, did you have one last question?
Can you come back to me in a second?
Yeah, of course. Julie with the Review Journal. Julie, Review Journal. All right, Channel 13. Channel 8, Kate Houston.
Yes, hi. Just kind of touching back on the question asked before, in regards to that pilot program that you mentioned. Will that be expanded to all schools? And with that, if the hybrid plan goes through, will that still go on while kids are back in the classroom?
Yeah, Kate, that's our goal, is to increase the access and provide more support across all the schools. We wanted to start small and making sure that we work out some of the challenges, especially during distance education. But while we are in the hybrid, if that's when we end up in opening our schools, then that is something that the mental health of our kids and our employees is going to be it's a priority for us. So absolutely.
Thank you so much. I do have one question from Sarah with the Las Vegas Sun. She was just hoping to get a little more information about the testing program for our employees. If you can just discuss that a little bit, how that might work.
Yeah, well, basically it's voluntary. As the board approved it last night, it's voluntary for our employees to participate through for COVID testing, and then they'll follow an app. And it's a statewide program. We just approved it last night. They'll follow an app, and then obviously is for the contact tracing. If it's there's positivity, and then be able to provide that safety measure for our employees.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm going to jump back to Channel 5. Lauren, did you have another question? Lauren, Channel 5. All right, I'll move on to Jeff.
Hello?
Yeah. Are you there? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay, great. So the reporter that covered this last night, she did have a question. She said the reason why there seems to be such a push to get back into the classroom before the end of the year was to retain the CARES Act money. Do you know what happens with that now?
No, I don't. First of all, let me just say, we were coming back before the end of the year, and the CARE Act dollars does run out December 31st, according to the federal government. Our plan that you saw in the hybrid last night before the board was for the beginning in January to start coming back to school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Jeff Gillen, Channel 3.
Dr. Jara, I wanted to get back to the mental health piece here. What is the number of student suicides that you've seen so far at CCSD this year?
As of today, 11.
11. And you said that you were targeting that I just want to make sure I understood you correctly. There are 11 schools that you've seen particular issues with this at, is that correct?
Well, what I'll say is the 11 schools is where we're seeing that there's a greater need of support for students. It may not be where the situation where we've lost the lives. It's just it's really from the contact in our schools and our principals and our teachers monitoring their data.
Do you think that those suicides, sir, are related to the fact that we're in distance learning and that we are or could other factors be at play here, do you think?
Yeah, Jeff, I think that's a great question. And one of the things that there's days that I struggle. It just really it's with COVID-19 when you really look at it. And I can't tell you, I'm not an expert to tell you that it is, but when you really look at the social isolation, when you look at what's happening in the economy at home, there's a lot of factors, and kids not being in school. So that's the biggest concern that we all have, and our adults are facing it as well. So we're trying to bring some normalcy back into our kids' lives, and our educators as well. So I can't say that it is the only factor, but it's trying to bring life back to our students and our families.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'll go back to you, Jackie Valley. Did you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to ask about the third part of the crises, and that's the academic portion. We've seen notes that attendance has dropped, student engagement has been a struggle. What are different teachers or principals doing to try to boost that student engagement, especially as we have the holidays approaching and a bummer with the COVID news as well?
Yeah, Jackie, one of the things that, and again, that I heard from our teachers and are listening to us, they're just trying every way to find engagement. They're playing games. They're spending some time at the beginning of the lesson to get them to turn their cameras on voluntarily, so then they can play games and engage the kids into what they're doing. It's just so much harder, right, doing it virtually than doing it in the classroom. So where kids are they're finding ways to feel comfortable at home through this distance education modality. So that's what I'm hearing. They're just trying to personalize it, bring some not a show and tell, but kind of some of those games to engage kids in the classrooms.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, folks. I do have 2 questions from Telemundo. Feel free to stay on if you'd like, folks, but this concludes the English section of today's media availability. Really do appreciate it. You can log off now. I will be asking 2 questions on behalf of Telemundo. Dr. Jara, they were just hoping to see if you can talk to them in Spanish real quick, a message for parents of what happens next with our transitional plan.
Sí, bueno, gracias por la pregunta. Lo que estamos esperando es que ahora las recomendaciones que la Junta Escolar nos dio ayer anoche, estamos ahora analizando, preparando para nosotros traer el plan, ojalá en diciembre. Estamos trabajando con los profesores, los maestros, los directores van a seguir en la educación de distancia hasta, ojalá, volveremos en enero.
Y asistencia para familias para mental health.
Y también estamos, también tenemos 11 escuelas que están ayudando a las casas. Por favor, si tienen los niños que necesitan hablar con un adulto, por favor, llamen a la escuela. Es muy importante para nosotros que estén los niños comunicándose con los maestros.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. Thank you so much, Dr. Jara. I really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much to everyone else for participating.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.